Today I'm with Ryan Bass. I'm really excited to have him. He's a correspondent on News Nation and works for Valley Sports reporter. He has how many hours of TV reporting do you have?
Over 1,000 hours. Well, that's at minimum for sure. But I've been in TV for 15 years, so it's been quite the journey. But I'm excited to be our media director here, and I bring a wealth of knowledge and TV experience to the team. So excited to be here, dude. Thank you. You know, I enjoy my role here as our media director, and I think it kind of enforces a little bit of what we do here. Having my role as a correspondent for News Nation, I get to report on a variety of topics nationally, and then being a team reporter for the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays, and Major League Baseball through Valley Sports. So many different experiences, and really excited to share a lot of that with you guys here today.
Awesome. So I'm excited. I love media training because I'm working and getting better in the media. So first off, the piece that makes me most nervous is actually introing people. So that beginning piece is where I get those butterflies, things I have to execute it properly.
I felt that
right
at the beginning of this.
No, I go fast. So how do I personally correct that? What advice would you give me?
Yeah, the biggest advice I would say is be familiar with the person, right? Like, you know me, we've been friends for a long time. You know, I love working here, and the key thing is to establish that relationship with someone. So in the intro, it's like, hey, I'm here with Scott. You know, not only is he a good friend of mine, but he's the CEO of Otter PR, the #1 PR firm in the entire country. That seemed pretty easy.
Yeah, it did.
That's 15 years of broadcasting that comes with that. But I think what you can do is establish that relationship with someone. And that's what I tell those in our media training for our clients is, hey, when you're getting ready to go on an interview setting with an anchor, a podcast host, a journalist, is find out something about them. Go look up their social media handles, follow them, go research or listen to some of the work that they've done. Get that personal relationship established because it makes the conversation so much more comfortable when you feel like you know each other. And so that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Awesome. That's helpful. What do you do kind of, so again, as someone that's newer in TV, radio, a lot of our clients are first time on an interview. If you do get nervous, if you do get those butterflies, do you have a trick where you can like refocus that energy so you kind of can get through without being stuck?
Yeah, take a second. I mean, look, it's harder to do on a TV platform because obviously that's live. You're very limited on space. Usually I would say in a package, like a reporter story, we call it package in the industry, it's usually anywhere from 1:30 to 2 minutes. So if you're being interviewed by a reporter, keep in mind, you're probably going to get 45 seconds of airtime. You're not going to get a lot, right? But it is a key influential part of that story. If you're doing a longer piece on TV, it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So you want to be clear, concise, and conversational. But I think the key thing here for being comfortable is, look, you can admit ignorance, right? I mean, if I get asked a question and I don't know the answer, one of the things that I can always do is say, you know what, that's a great question. I just don't know the answer to it. Admitting kind of that opportunity to say, look, like you and I at home, I just don't know. But you know what I'm going to do after this conversation? I'm going to go research it. I'm going to make sure I get the answer. And I'm happy to come on another episode and give you the answer to that question because it's a really good question. I just don't know the answer to it.
That's awesome. I like how you mentioned come back on another episode because that gives you the opportunity to potentially do come back even though you didn't know that answer. You're going to go do that research. You're going to find out. You're going to become that expert. And then you'll come back and present it.
And that's why I tell you to build that connection with that host or reporter because they're more than likely now to come back to you for another story or another podcast episode because they feel like, especially as me as a reporter, anytime I get to an opportunity to interview with somebody on News Nation, they're like, hey, I watch you on Valley Sports. Ooh, that makes me light up. Like that right away goes, I like you. Thank you for liking me. Let's build a connection here. And then they become go-to experts for me. Anytime I have, for example, I've interviewed some of our clients on News Nation and they have expertise in IT or in, business or in real estate. And now I know if I get assigned to a real estate story, guess who I'm going to first? That person that I built a connection with. So that's why it's really important.
Yeah, and it's easier for you as a reporter because you have that connection and part of the difficulty, I'm sure, is finding someone who can speak on the camera and do a good job and make you look good.
Exactly. That's why we have PR firms like Otter PR that help with clients to facilitate that relationship, to make sure we get those subject matter experts. But that's why media training, to segue back to what we were talking about, is so important because it helps establish you as the client or you as the interviewer to be not only comfortable, but to develop those key messages so that you have a roadmap for what you want to go into that interview with, to make sure you practice those responses, even if you do it on your phone or your camera or look into a mirror. It really helps you to refine what you want to say and nail those media interviews. So we help get you set up for sure, but it's really, the more you do, the more comfortable you get at it. And so that's what we're here to help you do at Otter.
So you talked about what to do when you don't know the answer, which I think is genius because so many people think they have to know the answers. But what do you do when you don't want to answer, when you think it's inappropriate? I know a lot of CEOs and people in the limelight, they get canceled because of something they said. How do you table that or how do you address that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can respectfully let someone down, right? As a reporter, if I'm asking a really difficult question to someone, it's okay to get stonewalled a little bit, right? And say, you know what, Ryan, I'm really not comfortable answering that question, but I'm happy to revisit it at another time. But right now, I'm just not comfortable answering that, right? There's a respectful way to kind of pivot or to let someone down. But one of the things that I always teach us in media training is you, as the subject matter expert, you're the expert for a reason. They're having you on to have a discussion because you are the one that is knowledgeable and has insight for the audience or the viewer. So you're the one in control. If they ask you a question as an anchor or a reporter that you're not comfortable with, you can always say, you know what, I don't know if I'm comfortable answering that question. But back to what I was talking about before, there's how you pivot, right? And that's why you have those 2 to 3 key talking points in mind. So if you do get back to in a quarter, or you're asked a question that you're not comfortable answering, you can then pivot back to those key responses, those key messages that you want to get to. Hey, I don't really know if I'm going to answer that, but here's what I can tell you. And boom, now you have it out and an outlet to then answer the question in a way that fits you, and you're not put in a PR nightmare scenario where you say something and then it goes viral. You're
on TV, you have some sort of agenda. Obviously, you don't want to be selling, but you want to kind of know what you would like to get out to the public and kind of know what that image is you're trying to create. So that's
and as, by the way, as a reporter or an anchor, like I have a story angle that I'm trying to go with here, right? So I have goals and angles. As the interviewee, you should have goals and angles as well. That way you're both prepared to kind of have that back and forth.
Awesome, Ryan. I really appreciate having you. Are there any other last minute tips before we jump off?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, the key thing here is getting as much experience as you can doing it. Don't turn down media interviews when you have the chance. The more you do, the more you're going to become more familiar with journalists, the more your connections will grow, the more of an audience you'll be able to reach. I mean, I tell this to all of our clients. Everyone gets focused on top tier media, and boy, do we do a good job here of landing our clients top tier coverage. But there's a lot of people that really read some of that small and mid tier. There's opportunities to talk to niche publications where you may reach an audience that maybe would have never known about you. So take advantage of every opportunity you can, because that's going to be able to make you more comfortable. It's going to introduce you to a wider audience, and it's really going to grow your footprint and build your credibility and exposure. So, but I would encourage you, if you guys are wanting to do media training, otterpr.com/media-training. We can really help you. There's a lot of tips and tricks that we didn't go over in this podcast that I'm happy to go over with you in a session and to share all my insight, and can't wait to be back on the next one.
Awesome. And if people want to reach out to you, how do they find you?
Pretty easy. Obviously, ryan.bass@otterpr.com is the email address here, but social media, ry_bass, both on Twitter and Instagram. Pretty active on both, so I would tell you to go there. Also on LinkedIn, you can find me, Ryan Bass. Reach out. If you really want to get comfortable with doing media interviews, that's great. I'll help you. But if you really want to learn about PR and what our company does and how we can truly help our clients grow, because we do it so well, and we have so many passionate publicists and account strategists and account executives and a CEOs and CMOs that really care and care about you and your brand and your product. So I'd encourage you to check us out, and it's really easy to do that. Just hit me up on social media.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Of course.